right, very good. Well, thank you all for being here at Philip Shore Elementary School for the Performing Arts. We have our principal right over here to my right. Thank you very much. This is a very important topic. We're proud in Hillsborough County to be a state and national leader in student safety. Last year, we initiated and completed testing for lead in the drinking water for all of our schools here in Hillsborough County. We did that even though testing is not required by the state. The results were very good. Families can rest assured that all drinking water at our schools is 100% safe. We use the EPA's guidelines for safe drinking water. From the very beginning of our testing, nearly every water fixture tested safely below those guidelines. In the few cases where the levels were higher, we took immediate action to fix it. The fixture was immediately taken out of service and replaced. No one was allowed to drink from that source again until the problem was fixed. After every repair, we made sure a new test showed the water was safely below the guidelines. You can learn more about our testing and see all of our test results on our website. All of our schools' drinking water is 100% safe, but we want to keep doing more. All of us want lead levels to be as close to zero as possible. Filters make it possible to go to that next level. These filters will also prevent contamination as pipes get older, and they'll serve as a pilot for schools statewide. Today, you'll hear about a public-private partnership, private donations being made to buy these filters, and those filters will be installed in 136 of our schools. These are the schools built in 1986 or earlier, back when lead could still be used in the pipes. Parents should know we will continue to test for lead in the water, and we will keep testing at all of our schools no matter when they were built. Our student safety is our top priority. And we're proud in Hillsborough County Public Schools to have strong relationship with all of our elected officials. I now, at this time, like to welcome one of those officials who's played an integral role in the safety of all of our students, especially more recently in the implementation of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, our Sheriff Chad Chronister, whose priority is always student safety. Sheriff?
Thank you, Superintendent Eakins. Good morning, everyone. What a pleasure it is to be here today. Superintendent Eakins, you are the best in the business, and I'm so fortunate that you're here in Hillsborough County. When it comes to student safety, staff safety, Superintendent Eakins always makes safety a top priority. Whether you're talking about student safety, whether you're talking about in schools, to and from schools, or protecting the children from the water they drink. And that's exactly right. I want everybody to think about that. That's part of protecting our kids, is the water that they consume. So thank you, Superintendent Eakins, for all your hard work. You're a tremendous partner. Thank you. I have the pleasure today of welcoming our next speaker, Senator Janet Cruz. Senator Cruz proposed a bill this year for safe drinking water across the state of Florida. And the bill became too partisan, if you ask me, not because of her, but because it became overinflated. For some reason, someone didn't believe that drinking water should be a top priority. They came up with I think, a devious plan to overinflate the cost of it. It became a multi-million-dollar project, and she would be forced to replace the filters multiple times throughout the year. The bill was voted down. Senator Cruz, her bill was defeated. Most senators would take the defeat, the bill didn't pass, and go on with their normal lives. Senator Cruz didn't do that. Senator Cruz immediately came home and said, we're going to make a difference. We're going to make this water safer. And I want everybody to think about this for a second when they talk about acceptable water levels. When you talk about lead, when you talk about fecal matter, when you talk about any other impurities that our children are drinking, is there an acceptable level? Because I can tell you, me and Senator Janet Cruz doesn't believe there's any acceptable levels. So the senator and I jump on a quick call. We decide we're going to have a breakfast because she's going to make it a priority as the session's off to make sure that our children have safe drinking water. I have the great fortune of having a good friend, George Ludich, here standing next to the senator, who owns Paragon Water. We reached out to him, said, are you available for breakfast? He said, absolutely. We told him what the senator wanted to accomplish. He immediately agreed. Within 2 days, we sat down and had breakfast, and he says, listen, these prices are way inflated. $3,000 a filter, I can do it for $300 a filter. those filters that need to be changed twice a year, I can give you better filters that only have to be changed once a year. That's how we make the drinking water that our kids are consuming safer. So without further ado, Senator, we are blessed to have someone who is so tenacious, someone who is tireless, someone who is passionate about doing the right thing regardless of partisan politics. And we can all thank our lucky stars that this senator is our senator, Senator Janet Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. This is a really great day for us because we're going to install the first water filter here at Phillips Shore. Phillips Shore is special to me, because I was born here in Ybor City, and my uncle went here to Phillips Shore when my abuelo, my grandfather, was across the street with a little, what they called the cafetera. He had the little coffee concession in the cigar factory because my abuela said he was a terrible cigar roller. So they sent him over to make the coffee. So I want to thank Superintendent Eakins for being a constant source of support here, for taking the lead on the voluntarily testing the water here, for making do in this county when they are constantly cutting funding. We talk about the additional funding that we voted for, but that still doesn't put us up to the levels of funding that they took away from us when they removed the millage and promised to return it. So I worked on Senate Bill 66 this year, and that was a very simple, straightforward bill. It said, let's put filters on any water in schools that were built before 1986. Let's put filters on the water fountains, and at least the water fountains, to safeguard our students. And I heard from the superintendents, and they said, please do not pass a mandate that we cannot afford to fund. They are piecing together pennies to take care of their school districts. So Senate Bill 66, what happened was they put an indeterminate fiscal on the bill. They said they couldn't tell what it would cost. They referred to $400 filters, and they referred to several replacements every year. So when we met with George, who is one of the largest filter manufacturers probably in the world, certainly in the United States, George said, we can do it for $30 a filter and replace the filter within the cartridge once a year for $20. So we went from, in Hillsborough County, we went from an indeterminate fiscal to a determinate fiscal by saying, okay, this is what we know. We know that we can do a filter for $30. We know that Sheriff Chronister said to us, I have new recruits that need volunteer hours. They will come out and install the filters. And we've worked closely with the facilities manager and much of the staff and administration here in Hillsborough County to help us make this a reality today. There's really no price tag on children's health. And I think it's important to note, too, that the levels of lead in these schools that were built before 1986 are below the EPA standards. We meet the standards, but George has created a filter that filters out 99.9% of contaminants in the water. So why shouldn't we do that? The filter is good for 7,900 gallons of water, and when you have an indeterminate fiscal on a bill, that's a kiss of death. Because you can't get it through. I mean, who on an appropriations committee, Senator Rousson, would pass a bill that doesn't have a determination on what this would cost the taxpayers? So you know that if it's indeterminate, it's just not going to happen. So that's why I had to come home, and I had to prove that we can do this at a reasonable cost. And I think it's very important to ask for community involvement. I want to thank the Chronister DeBartolo family for contributing the first $25,000 to this program, the Vinnick family for contributing, our second contributor. And we have several other major corporations in the Tampa Bay area that I'm hesitant to say but have committed, and until the money's in the bank, I won't say that. But our goal is to raise $250,000. That replaces, that puts in new filters for the water fountains in the schools that were built before 1986, and leaves us a surplus so that we can replace a year from now. And if you go to our Facebook page, which is Get the Lead Out Hillsborough, we're asking people to adopt a water fountain. It's $30 to adopt a water fountain, and when you say yes, I'll pay $30, then it goes on and says, will you cover the cost of the credit card processing, which is another $1.70? And then when you click yes on that, it goes, would you like to buy a filter next year to replace your adopted water fountain? So, you know, we have figured out a way to keep the cost of moving this program forward to a minimum and put almost every penny that we take into safeguarding our water. I want to thank for a moment, first of all, I'd like to recognize the electeds and the honorables that are here. I want to thank, first of all, Principal Sherry Bollinger for being so gracious and opening up your school to us. This is a really special place with so much great history. I want to recognize that Senator Darrell Roussan, my counterpart in Tallahassee, is here. Former Senator Sean Shaw is here.
Former senator, I like that.
And former and honorable representative. Did I say senator?
Yeah.
I did. God. Okay. Former Representative Sean Shaw is here, and former Representative Edna Rain is here. It was written representative. And also wanted to introduce my dear friend Andy Scaglione, who is the past president or former president of GTAR, which is the Board of Realtors, and a trustee for the Florida Realtors, who realized that, you know, strong schools, healthy kids, solid community is what brings people to Tampa and brings companies to Tampa. So I want to thank you for being here too. I remain committed to passing this legislation statewide. It is important to me. I came home to prove a point and say, if you can't determine what the fiscal is, then I will help you determine it. If I have to raise money across the state to put water filters in every school across the state, that is what I'm prepared to do. But my hope is that I'll pass this legislation statewide and pass it not with an unfunded mandate, but pass it with budgetary appropriations so that I don't have to go to the superintendent and say, you know, you find the money. That's not fair. They can't find the money because there's such a diversion to corporate schools these days. Our public schools are suffering, and the last thing I want to do is assess an unfunded mandate. So we're happy to be here. We're thrilled that we are going to install our first water filter. I want to invite everyone out into the hallway with the principal. And oh, look who's here, Cindy Stewart, come up here. Our school board member, Cindy Stewart, is here. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank everyone who is here today. We want to prove that the state can easily move this project forward. So I'm going to invite all of you to join us out in the hallway as we watch the historic installation of the first filter. And thank you very much for being here, Cindy. Okay, that's it. Let's walk outside and install a filter, guys.